The day Emily decided she had to quit her job, her coworkers put together a little get together in the office. They said it was a goodbye party for her. But while everyone else tried to act happy, Sarah looked totally shocked. Sarah was an intern who started at the company at the same time as Emily. Her eyes were wide, looking confused and maybe even a little angry as she stared at Emily. "Why are you leaving all of a sudden?" Sarah asked quietly, just loud enough to hear over the polite chatter. "You copied my work before, and I didn't say anything. Just stay," she added. Her words sounded friendly, but they felt fake and annoyed Emily. Emily didn't say anything. She just walked past Sarah. This surprised the small group of people there. Emily grabbed her bag from her desk and left, feeling the unfairness from the past weigh heavily on her. It felt like a very long time ago when Emily and Sarah both started as interns at this company. They were both trying hard to get a permanent job there. Emily worked really hard, staying up late many nights to create what she thought was the perfect project proposal. It was a detailed and new plan meant to impress the bosses. But just before Emily could turn it in, Sarah submitted a plan that was almost exactly the same. What happened next was quick and harsh. Emily was called a copycat, someone who steals other people's ideas. Everyone started avoiding her, whispering mean things and looking away when she passed. Things got really scary when one of Sarah's admirers, a man who was obsessed with her, hit Emily with his car on purpose. The next thing Emily knew, she felt confused but then realized she was back in the office. The date on her computer showed it was the same day she was supposed to submit her plan. Sarah was sitting at the desk next to her, looking happy because the supervisor liked her work. "Sarah, your proposal is great," the supervisor said enthusiastically. "You really thought about the market. It's almost perfect. Everyone should learn from you." Hearing this praise shocked Emily. She could almost feel the car hitting her again. She looked around the familiar office. It was definitely the same day, the same moment, right before everything went wrong for her. "I thought about everything," Sarah said modestly, enjoying the supervisor's praise. "I even went out to do research to make sure it would work." Mark, a loud coworker, jumped in to praise Sarah too. "Yeah, I saw Sarah at our store on the weekend. She's collecting information even then." Emily stared at the screen showing Sarah's proposal. Every word was exactly like the plan Emily had made alone, without telling anyone. A cold feeling came over her. How could Sarah's plan be exactly like hers? The terrible things that happened before started playing in her mind again, making her anxious. Emily was so lost in these thoughts that she barely noticed the supervisor talking to her. "Emily," he said, sounding expectant, "it's your turn to show your work, but I didn't get your plan this morning. Did you finish it?" Emily couldn't speak. She wanted to say yes, that her plan was just as good, the exact same one he had just praised Sarah for. She held the hard drive with her work tightly, feeling confused and worried. How could she explain how similar the plans were? How could she say she felt like the same bad things were about to happen again, but this time she could change it? The big difference now was that she hadn't submitted her proposal yet. Emily felt determined. She wouldn't let the past happen again. She lowered her head, clenched her teeth, and told a lie. "Sorry, supervisor," she mumbled, pretending she wasn't confident. "I'm still new here, so I didn't finish on time." The supervisor looked angry. He slammed his phone on the desk. "The company doesn't pay people to slack off," he snapped. "You and Sarah started together on the same team. She did more than expected, but you couldn't even finish the basic work? There aren't many jobs available, so you need to try harder." Emily stayed quiet, looking at the floor, taking his scolding without arguing. Mark, always trying to please the supervisor, took the chance to look good. "See, that shows the difference between people," he sneered, glancing at Emily. Sarah nudged him gently and smiled sweetly, saying, "It's because you're a great teacher." Watching them act this way, Emily laughed silently and bitterly to herself. In the past timeline, when they found out the plans were identical, there had been a big fight. Emily had tried desperately to prove her work was original by showing all the research she had done. Just when she thought Sarah was caught, Sarah showed her own proof, and Mark quickly backed her up. Because Mark was a senior employee known for being smart and fair, people instantly believed him and thought Emily was guilty. Emily couldn't prove anything more, and she heard her coworkers whispering things like, I haven't seen someone steal work like that in a long time, and better stay away from her, and people like that should be fired. Feeling trapped, Emily watched as Sarah started crying dramatically, accusing Emily of stealing her hard work. Angry and defeated, Emily had run out of the office. Mark followed her and demanded she apologize to Sarah. When Emily refused, he attacked her in the parking lot. It was only later, while hurt and confused, that Emily realized Mark was dangerously obsessed with Sarah. But this time would be different. This time, Emily didn't just want to prove she was innocent. This time, they would have to face the results of what they did. After the meeting ended, people left the office. Sarah came over to Emily's desk and touched her arm. Emily, don't worry, she said in a fake, sweet voice. I know you can do it. Something must have stopped you from finishing. She smiled. You have to try your best, too. I hope we both get to stay at the company. Her pretend niceness made Emily feel sick. Back at her desk, Emily ignored everyone and tried to figure out how Sarah got her plan. Maybe Sarah looked at it when the office was empty. Emily couldn't think of any other way she could know so much about her work. The thought of Sarah following her home and sneaking into her apartment to look at her files seemed crazy, like a bad movie plot. But the fact remained. The proposals were identical. Wanting answers, Emily asked to see the office security camera footage after work. She made up a story about losing something. She carefully watched the videos from the day she started the proposal, looking for any sign of Sarah near her desk or computer. The videos showed nothing. Neither Sarah nor Mark had gone near her desk or touched her things. But then, on the video from the day before the deadline, the camera covering her area suddenly stopped working. The screen went black and fuzzy. What happened here? Emily asked the security guard. The camera in your section broke then, he replied simply. We have repairs scheduled for tomorrow. The timing seemed too perfect, too suspicious. And did Sarah use the broken camera as a chance to look at her proposal? There was no proof, and no one she could ask secretly, but Emily felt worried. She decided being careful was the best thing to do. The next day, there was a new team project. Emily decided to be extremely careful with her work. Every single time she left her desk, even for a second, she locked her computer screen. After work, she copied all her finished documents onto an external hard drive that she took home, deleting everything from her work computer. This way, she thought, Sarah couldn't steal her ideas anymore. The day before the new deadline, Sarah came to Emily's desk. She seemed worried, but also like she was hiding something. Emily, how is it going? She asked, her voice a little higher than normal. Do you need help? We can't be late this time, or the supervisor will be mad. Emily quickly minimized the document she was working on and looked at Sarah defensively. Almost done, she said shortly. Finishing up now. Sarah kept trying, looking at Emily's screen. Want me to look it over? Emily was surprised by how bold she was and quickly said no. No thanks, she replied, then asked, How about you? How is yours? Sarah answered with worrying confidence. I'm almost done too. I came up with a really great idea this time. As Sarah explained her idea, Emily felt a cold shock. Her great idea was the main part of Emily's own proposal, the new solution Emily had worked hard to develop. How could she know? Emily felt freezing cold. Sarah kept talking, but Emily didn't hear her anymore. She felt lost in disbelief and hopelessness. Emily? Emily! What's wrong? You think my idea is great too, right? Sarah smiled brightly at her, but it looked fake. Emily forced herself to say, Yeah. Good luck, Emily, Sarah said as she turned to leave. I'm going back now. Once Sarah was gone, Emily opened her document again. The words seemed to make fun of her now. The happiness she used to feel about her work was gone, replaced by a feeling of being violated. After thinking hard for a few moments, she made a big decision. She deleted everything, all the work she had done for days. The proposal was due the next day. With no time to write another detailed plan, she had to start over and make something completely new. She worked late into the night, feeling anxious but determined, and finally finished a new proposal just before midnight. To avoid any more problems, she emailed it to the supervisor right away. Even though it was late, she slept surprisingly well. The next morning, Emily went to work feeling hopeful again. But as soon as she walked into the office, she could feel something was different. People whispered as she walked to her desk. "Did you hear? Emily didn't finish her work again, and she turned in someone else's work as her own." "I heard. The supervisor was really angry this morning. They said she stole Sarah's work. She even emailed it late at night to pretend it was hers. We should stay away from people like her." "What should I do? She sits next to me. Can I ask to move?" Hearing these sharp, accusing words felt like being hit. Just then, the supervisor came out of his office and called her over. "Emily, come to the office." When she went in, Sarah was already there, her eyes red and puffy, looking completely devastated. The supervisor sat down and looked straight at Emily. "It's just the three of us here, Emily. Tell the truth. Did you use Sarah's proposal?" The question felt like falling into ice water. So this is what happened. Even after being so careful, she was still accused. What went wrong? Sarah turned to Emily, crying. "Emily, I've always been nice to you. Why would you do this to me? If I hadn't stayed up all night and decided to email my finished proposal to the supervisor, I wouldn't have any proof. If you want a promotion, we can compete fairly. Why cheat like this? Stolen work is still stolen. It will never really be yours." She kept accusing Emily, not giving her a chance to explain. She was clearly pretending to be the victim. The supervisor showed both proposals on the screen. Besides the names, the content was exactly the same again. Emily found it almost funny how bold this was. Sarah might have seen her first proposal somehow, but how could she copy the details of the new one Emily finished late last night? Emily pointed to a part on the screen. "Sarah," she asked calmly, even though she felt upset inside, "how did you analyze this data?" Emily expected Sarah to struggle to answer, but Sarah explained the whole process exactly the way Emily had thought of it, her words matching Emily's thoughts perfectly. Then Sarah looked timidly at the supervisor. "Enough," the supervisor said, sounding very disappointed. "Emily, I called you here hoping you would admit if you did something wrong, so I could give you another chance. But it seems you don't feel sorry or want to admit anything. You seemed so much better in your interview than you are now. I think we need to seriously think about your job here." He stood up, looking frustrated. Then he turned to Sarah. "And you, Sarah," he said sharply. "Your last proposal was good. But this one is a mess, full of mistakes. Even the basic structure is wrong." Sarah looked up at the screen, surprised and confused. After Sarah had left the office the night before, Emily had deleted her first proposal, the one Sarah had copied. Knowing she didn't have time to make another great one, Emily quickly put together a bad version on purpose, full of errors. She wanted to test her idea. Would Sarah copy even her intentional mistakes? What happened today proved her idea was right. Sarah seemed to know everything Emily did, like she could read her mind. With Sarah around, Emily knew any good work she did would always be stolen. As the supervisor kept scolding, Emily reached up and took off her company ID badge. She tossed it on the desk. It made a small noise in the quiet, tense room. "I have nothing else to say," she said firmly. "What I make is mine. I don't want to claim someone else's work. I quit. I'll write the resignation letter and send it soon. Please approve it quickly." She turned and walked out without waiting for them to reply, not caring how they reacted. She was tired of working hard in a place where her work was stolen and she was lied to. She was finished with this whole situation. But just as she got to the main office area, Sarah ran after her. She stood right in front of Emily, holding her arms out dramatically. Emily just ignored her, stepped around her, and kept walking toward the exit. Sarah wouldn't stop, her voice getting louder and more desperate as she followed Emily. "Emily, you're just angry, right? I'll talk to the manager. I won't blame you for taking my proposal. We were supposed to help each other and stay at this company, remember? The job review is soon, Emily." Ah. Her constant begging annoyed Emily so much. She turned around and slapped Sarah hard across the face. The sound echoed in the tense office. For a moment, everyone was silent and shocked. Sarah's hair fell over her face, so Emily couldn't see her expression, but she could guess. They had definitely caused a scene. Several coworkers pretending to work were clearly watching everything with great interest. "What did you do to Sarah?" Mark yelled, running over and pushing Emily roughly. He immediately focused on Sarah, looking very concerned. "Sarah, are you okay? Let me see your face." Sarah pulled away from his touch instinctively, then looked awkward when she realized it was Mark. "I am fine," she mumbled. "Apologize to Sarah now," Mark growled at Emily, his eyes looking angry and possessive, almost crazy. Emily remembered vividly how he had driven his car at her before, reminding her how dangerous he could be. To avoid making him angrier, she gave a quick apology. "Sorry," she mumbled, pretending to feel bad. "I got a little emotional." Sarah forced a weak smile. "No worries. But Emily, please don't leave. I didn't mean to tell the manager. Stay, okay? Maybe you'll pass the review and get to stay." Emily thought Sarah probably wanted her to stay so she could keep stealing her ideas, not because she cared about Emily. Only an idiot would stay in such a bad place. But she pretended to be upset and took Sarah's hand. "With my skills," she said, pretending to give up, "I probably wouldn't last here anyway. Leaving now is better than getting fired later." Then she had an idea. "Oh, by the way," she added, smiling sweetly, "isn't Mark interested in you? You two would look good together. I really hope things work out for you both. Just remember to invite me to the wedding." Her words seemed to make Mark happy. He nervously touched his thinning hair and chuckled proudly. "Yeah, Sarah. As long as you're here, who cares if Emily leaves?" Hearing Mark dismiss her like that and seeing other coworkers looking curiously, Sarah subtly moved away from Mark, looking uncomfortable. "But," she started to argue, then stopped and said nothing. Seeing that Mark had calmed down, Emily took the chance to leave, getting away from the messy situation. Soon, she finished all the paperwork for leaving her job, feeling happy and free. She hummed happily as she packed the rest of her things. Walking out of the company building, she looked back at Sarah's empty desk and wondered briefly, who would Sarah copy now that she was gone? Emily put her things in her car and drove home. The streets in her neighborhood felt comforting after the stressful office. Usually her cat would run eagerly to the door to greet her, but this time it stayed away, watching her from afar. When Emily tried to pet it, it hissed sharply, its fur standing on end. Maybe it smelled the bad feelings from the day clinging to her clothes. When her father got home later that evening, he saw her relaxing on the couch with a face mask on, watching TV. He looked a bit confused. "Did something happen at work today? Why are you home so early?" Emily just shrugged. "I quit." Her father laughed loudly. "I told you I could just give you a job, but you insisted on starting from the beginning. And now you quit yourself? Really?" The truth was, the company she worked at was owned by her family. When she graduated, her father offered her an easy job in the family business, but she had refused stubbornly. She wanted to climb the corporate ladder herself, like a challenge in a game. So she applied to this company and got hired on her own, or at least she thought so. She didn't know how things would really turn out. She ate sunflower seeds while telling her father about what happened that day, explaining the weird events and why she finally quit. He listened carefully, looking worried. He also felt something wasn't right and promised to look into it secretly. Now that she was free, Emily traveled for a while, visiting new places and experiencing different ways of life. The distance and new experiences helped her forget about the past problems. Even though she didn't work at the company anymore, it was easy to keep in touch with people there because of her family connections. Just as she expected, after she left, Sarah's work performance got much worse. Without Emily's ideas to copy, Sarah couldn't come up with any good proposals or get any good results. Sometimes she even had trouble with easy tasks. Mark kept helping her, even though it wasn't really working, so she didn't get fired, but her earlier amazing work was gone. While Emily was still trying to figure out how Sarah could copy her ideas so perfectly, they had a surprise visitor at home. Dad, who is this? Emily asked, confused, looking at the man wearing sunglasses in their living room. Her father introduced him. This is David. I asked him to check our house's energy flow before, and after I followed his advice, I really felt much better. You mentioned those strange things at work, so I thought something was wrong and asked David to come check things out for you. David didn't look like the usual person you'd expect to know about things like energy flow or curses. He looked young and acted casual. Seeing Emily look doubtful, he took off his sunglasses and asked, "Have you been feeling extra tired lately?" Emily thought about it. Yes, she had been feeling constantly tired, more than just normal work tiredness. At the time, she thought it was just from working late and stress. But now, looking at David, she started to wonder. Yeah, she answered slowly. Especially my shoulders. They hurt. David nodded like he understood. There's something bad attached to you, he said. You feel tired because someone put a curse on you. That person can use the curse to get inside your mind, like sharing your soul. That's why you feel worn out. Emily felt a cold shiver. Before she could ask more, David continued seriously. This is just the start. If the curse isn't removed soon, your own spirit will start to weaken. Eventually, you'll be pushed out and won't be able to control your own body anymore. Then, you won't be the real you. Someone wants to replace you. What he said was terrifyingly clear. Emily didn't have to think hard about who would do such an evil thing. She first thought Sarah just wanted to steal her work to get ahead. But David's words suggested something much worse. Sarah wanted to take over her life completely, erase Emily and become her. All the times Sarah acted friendly now seemed like a plan to get close to her, to get into her life. And Emily had actually thought for a short time that Sarah was a real friend. Her father looked very worried. He asked David urgently, "Is there a way to fix this?" "Of course," David replied, taking something from his pocket. "As long as you get the person who cursed you to take this, the curse will be broken." He gave Emily a small white pill. Looking at the simple pill, Emily started making a plan. She knew she couldn't just confront Sarah directly anymore. To make Sarah take the pill, she needed help from someone else. Someone Sarah trusted, or at least wouldn't suspect right away. Luckily, she thought of the perfect person. Wanting to fix this scary situation quickly, Emily arranged to meet him near the company the next day around noon. As she expected, Mark showed up on time. He looked curious, but also nervous. Emily held out the pill. "If you can get Sarah to take this pill," she said calmly, "she'll fall in love with you soon, and you'll finally be with the girl you want." Mark looked very doubtful. "Really? Why are you helping me?" Emily pretended to be sad. "I'm not really helping you. After I left the company, I felt bad about fighting with Sarah. She was my best friend there. Mark, I can tell you're a good person. If Sarah is happy with you, I'll be happy too." Mark, completely fooled by his crush on Sarah, believed Emily's lie easily. He took the pill and promised he would make sure Sarah took it. Knowing how obsessed Mark was, Emily was sure he would do it. A few days later, Emily started feeling much better, lighter. The constant tiredness she felt started to go away. Even her cat sensed the change and started cuddling with her again instead of avoiding her. Mark must have succeeded. Emily sent him a text to check. "Did you get Sarah to take the pill?" Mark replied quickly, "Yeah, luckily I could crush it and mix it with water. Otherwise, I don't know how I would have done it. But I don't think it worked." Emily texted back, "It takes time to work, just wait a bit." Once Mark confirmed Sarah took the pill, Emily couldn't help but laugh darkly, feeling satisfied. With the main danger gone, Emily decided to take a simple, quiet job back at the company using a slightly different name. She wanted to watch Sarah's downfall happen herself. The day she walked into the office with her new ID, the manager and Mark were shocked, their mouths wide open. Only Sarah looked tense, her jaw tight. The coworkers who used to whisper about her now looked away nervously, probably remembering their gossip. How did Emily suddenly become the owner's daughter? I don't know. Do you think she's angry? We weren't wrong. She did steal Sarah's proposal. Quiet. Keep it down. Emily ignored the whispers and went to her new office. Emily, Sarah said, grabbing her arm, her voice sounding forced. I never knew who you really were. I'll have to rely on you now. The manager gave Sarah a look that said he knew what she was doing. Trying to get close to the boss's daughter instead of talking to her actual bosses didn't seem very smart. Soon, Sarah kept getting assigned the hardest jobs. Since she couldn't steal Emily's ideas anymore, her poor work was obvious. Supervisors often scolded her, and even Mark couldn't protect her anymore. The time for the permanent job review came quickly. Sarah's work wasn't good enough, and after a short discussion, it was decided. She didn't pass. When the results were announced, Sarah started shaking, finally losing control. She lunged at Emily like a broken doll, her voice angry. Did you do this? Did you use your power to stop me from passing? Why did you come back after quitting? Tell me what I did wrong. Tell me. Emily gently pulled Sarah away, watching her fall apart calmly. If you think your work is so good, Emily said steadily, we can show everyone. Stop blaming me. You copied my proposal just fine, right? And you know exactly what you did, don't you? Her words seemed to hit Sarah hard. Sarah's face went white and she suddenly grabbed her head and fell to the floor. My head hurts. You know everything. You know everything. When did you find out? No wonder I can't get into your mind anymore. Why were you born rich while I have to work so hard for everything? If you hadn't quit suddenly, I would have passed the review. She jumped up, her eyes looking wild. I'm going to find the master. Your identity, everything you have, it will all be mine. All mine. No one can stop me. Seeing how strangely Sarah was acting, Mark ran over anxiously, trying to hold her back. Sarah, what's wrong? Calm down. Then he turned to Emily, his eyes red with anger and suspicion. What did you do to her? Was it because of that pill? You lied to me. Seeing Mark getting angry, Emily signaled to the bodyguards she'd hidden nearby. She wasn't going to be caught unprepared again. What pill? Sarah suddenly looked up, staring at Mark with confusion that turned into horror. Mark, nervous and desperate to explain, blurted out, She gave it to me. She said it would make you fall in love with me, so I gave it to you. Hearing this, Sarah's expression changed from crazy to murderous. She grabbed Mark's neck, her fingers squeezing tight. So, it was you, she hissed, her voice full of hate. You ruined my plan. I was so close. According to the plan, soon I would have escaped this life and your annoying attention at work. Love you? Keep dreaming. Look at yourself. Do you think you deserve it? Just seeing you makes me feel sick. I had to hang around you and pretend to like you just to get your help. I almost threw up. Hearing her cruel words, Mark, who had looked a little sorry before, now seemed completely destroyed. Do you not like me at all? He whispered, his voice barely audible. Never! Sarah spat. Mark let her choke him for a second, his head down in sadness. Then, suddenly and shockingly, he pulled a small knife from his pocket and stabbed Sarah again and again. The blade flashed under the office lights. Her blood sprayed onto his face as he kept attacking wildly. Then just die! 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 Seeing the terrible violence, the coworkers who had been watching curiously just moments before screamed and ran away, their faces white with shock. Sarah quickly fell to the floor, blood pooling around her still body. Emily told the bodyguards to grab Mark quickly to stop any more violence. They pinned his arms behind him, holding him on the floor as he mumbled over and over, How can you not like me? How? The police and ambulances arrived quickly, restoring some order. Mark and Sarah were taken away separately. Sadly, even though the paramedics tried hard, Sarah died from her injuries. Mark was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison. The person who gave Sarah the curse idea, known only as the Master, was also arrested for promoting dangerous plans. With this horrible chapter finally over, Emily and her father visited David to thank him properly with a generous gift. Emily finally listened to her father's advice and agreed to work in the family business, staying close to him so she wouldn't face such dangerous situations again.